curious as to whether you have brought into your analysis, as the book's a lot thicker than what you've been able to explain to us tonight, demographic perspectives. One, and this is kind of put crudely, but you know, children are great causes of consumption. And if, you know, I'm wondering if you have done a comparison. The American birth rate has been higher than the European birth rate and the East Asian birth rate for many generations, for centuries. And I'm wondering if the higher American birth rate could be correlated in any way to the phenomena you've been describing where the savings rate is lower. In other words, if you're in China and you have only one child, you have you have more money available to save than you're in America and you have 3 children. Mm-hmm. And you have to pay things. Now, obviously, one can argue, well, we spend too much on our children. The point about education, obviously, whether that's a real value investment is a perfectly legitimate one. But overall, I'm just wondering if you've compared the demographics and the birth rates to see if that could be a cause of this differential.
Demographics are very important. It's interesting that most economists who use demography don't look at birth rates. They actually look at the percentage of the population that's elderly, because that tends to be a very big source of consumption. You may ask why. It's because the elderly no longer have income coming in, and of course in our country, enormous health costs and other things like that tend to actually diminish the savings rate. So in general, we have talked about, economists used to talk about having a relatively young population was the way you got higher saving. Because children actually don't cost as much as old people, not even close. And so we talked about places like Japan and Korea, right? Japan, Korea, China today, that at the period of their high saving had relatively young populations who were already earning, because in a more sort of a more third world population, people get into the workforce earlier, so they actually tend to encourage saving, or they tend to correlate with higher saving. So I don't think that's our problem. It would actually be nice if that were our problem, because while affluent people do spend a lot on their children, most people in the country don't have that much money to spend on their children. So I don't think that's where you're seeing the major source of consumption.